Parks was no little old lady whose feet got tired. Rosa Parks was a warrior. That was an organized plan. And some of us can't stand out in the street for 30 seconds, much less be out for over a year in a bus boycott. So there's something wrong here in terms of us not understanding those things. So when they had the bus boycott, it wasn't something that was unnoticed. It wasn't something that the imperialists could pretend wasn't happening. It wasn't something that the Jim Crow regime couldn't act like it didn't disrupt what they were doing. So our challenge is to look at how do we challenge them? When we have actions, I think most of us have become event planners, not revolutionary organizers, not activists. We go from one event to the other. Our meetings are to look at the event that we had and plan the next event or the next meeting. And then the events that we have, we go to DC, for example, in the United States, when ain't nobody there. Nobody's there, but here we are. We have young people saying, well, I'm going to have an action. What is that action going to be? Oh, I'm going to sit down here on this street. And I said, but there's no traffic and there ain't no people. So the police said, sure, how long do you want to be there? You can stay there forever because you ain't doing nothing. You ain't disrupting nothing and ain't nobody going to even see you or cover you. So I mean, these are things that what we do is we take direct action, we take civil disobedience, but we take the skeleton of it. We take the heart out. We don't lose the objective of those actions and those methods of organizing. We just forget it. Either we forget it, we don't think we need it, or we're not courageous enough to do it. Only we can answer the question which one category to we fall in. So we need to look at those practices, even the strikes that we have. People come and, I'm not going to talk about Joel up here because I don't know. This is my first time to Toronto. I know in the United States, people come in, workers, or where's the pad where I can sign in? Am I going to still get paid for the day? No, you ain't going to get paid for being on strike. And no, we don't need you to sign in nothing. We need you to organize the workers that weren't here. You need to show up again, but you need to organize. So we've taken, the withhold your labor is very significant. We ask why we can't get to a general strike. Because we can't even do a mini strike. So until we can do the mini strikes the way they're supposed to be done, so that the objective aim is the imperialists must hurt and must bleed. The imperialists must know that you are a force to be reckoned with. How would they know that when you're playing with yourself and you ain't doing nothing? And nobody even knows that you're over there doing that. So we have the capability. We also have the lessons from our history. We have some strong organizations. We have many organizations that could be strengthened. We have the interest to come together and work together. We also have the interest to defeat that elephant, white skin privilege. We have the interest to defeat sexism. Because all those things is part of the weaponry, not for us, it's the weaponry for the imperialists. How many ways can I split up the workplace? I worked in a workplace where we had so many different nationalities. And of course we had the different genders. We won't say what kind of jobs they pay. The women got versus the men, because you all know that story. And management played that like a fiddle. They played the division between the blacks and the Russians and the Latinos, those who had degrees versus those who didn't have degrees, those who were in the older title versus the ones that are in the new titles, and those that were easily always volunteering to be bribed. So we had to find out a way to cut through that. And one of the things was to constantly talk about the commonality of the impact of the work of the bosses on all of us. I don't care what language you speak, and I don't care what color your skin is, but when they take our wages away from us and lower them, when they take our benefits away, and when they decide to lay off people, they're going to come after you just like they're going to come after me. And if one of the things was a two-tier system. which I don't know if you have it up here, but I know that that is a common practice and in the arsenal of the imperialists and was very much used in the United States. And courageously, people try to say, don't buy into that. But you heard the selfish, backward ideas of some of those in our working class movement who said, why should I care whether or not this person over here gets less benefits than I do? Why do I care if that person doesn't get any severance pay, or very little? Why do I care if that person has to pay for health benefits and I don't? And that goes back to, because quiet as it's kept in the United States, the leadership of the organized labor is still mainly white men, of mostly all of our internationals, with very, very few exceptions. Although we have a lot of people of color, more people of color, I should say, taking on local leadership. But they didn't raise that fight. They actually encouraged that people turn their back on the other workers. So we all know what happens. I'm going to come in. She has a big bag full of benefits. I don't get shit or half of what she has, and I'm paying the same dues. Why am I in the same organization that she's in? Should I have any allegiance to that same organization? When you ask me to come to a union meeting, should I come? When you ask me to go on strike to fight for something, should I do that? No. No, I'm not going to do it, because you have allowed the bosses to divide us and make me a second-class citizen in my same union that I'm in with you. And that happened repeatedly. Now that is coming to bite them on the butt. Because now what happens, people say, well, I'm only concerned about me. I'm here and they're not here. These are you talking about the new workers that might be coming. They're not even here. Why should I be kidding? I said, because you know what's going to happen? You're not going to be here, and the new workers will be here. Because we went to the table, we said we want one tier, the one we had before, the top tier. And the boss says, we're in agreement. We want one tier too, but we want the lowest tier. So what does that mean? What does that inform you? You at the highest tier, they're going to get rid of you, which is what they did, and keep all the people in the lower tier because they can enslave me. And the same thing with the immigrant workers. Oh, they're my enemy, I don't have anything to do with them, they're coming. But what happens in construction trades? What happens in the industries? What happens in the social service places? They will get rid of you all who had good benefits and good jobs, the sister was talking about in the public sector, for example, and replace you with the new slaves. That they have devastated their own economies in their own countries, so that they have to come and seek, like immigrants have always done, to look for a way to survive. The biggest joke in the United States is, ain't nobody crossing nobody's border. People are coming back to their own land that you stole from them. So how dare you? How dare you get people coming back to their own land? That's one piece of it, but the other piece is, how dare other workers organize to support that view? And what is the big elephant here that informs people that that's the side they should be on? Just like what was the elephant that informed people, like the sister's father and others, to go and say that this man should have been the mayor, Ford. He's great, just like in New York City. Oh, we need Bloomberg because he's a businessman, and businessmen don't know how to do things right. Yeah, they certainly do. They know how to screw you royally, take all your shit, and kill you. So we certainly do need the Wall Street Bloomberg, who people should wonder. No one's asking him. With all the crisis in New York, not only did Bloomberg not lose any money, he made more money. Is that a question in anybody's head? But we are taught, and that's what we have to fight in other ways, any way we can, with popular literature, one-on-one discussions, all the things that we do that's right when we want to bring workers into a union or bring workers into a group, and then we stop doing it after they get there. We need literature that is popular and clear for workers and in different languages that explains to them and highlights all the questions that they have themselves and provides the information that workers who are working real hard don't have time to sit at the internet for 500 hours and get that information. But some of us have the ability to do that. So those some of you, instead of trying to lead that movement, go to the computer, get the information, and help the workers produce the kind of literature that they can take themselves, not you, to their communities, to their workplaces, and discuss them with other workers. So we need popular literature that constantly, one, reinforces why the class has the mandate that it has. What the imperialists are doing in terms of, they know what they're doing to them, but it's good for migrant workers, for example, to know what's happened to all migrant workers. How can we, and who is the villain? Who are the common villains in that case? All the people that are in the industries, who is the common villain? U.S. Steel bringing their ass up here to take your company over and then throw you out in the street? How many people in New York and in some of the old industrial areas even know about that? You'd be surprised at how ill-informed that workers are about what's happened to other workers by companies that are coming from the United States. People are talking about China. Oh, every time I go to the store, I look at the bag and it says China. China stole our jobs. I didn't see a Chinese person come over here and take our garment industry. I didn't see a Chinese person just pack it up and then take it someplace. I saw the greedy imperialists take our shit over there because there were no regulations about them doing that. They could hide their monies and their profit, their maximum profit, because they ain't never been interested in no minimum nicely pocket, like the misleaders will take the old crumbs from the bread. They want the maximum top of the line profit. So they're going to get it any way they can. So we need to really kind of do a lot of exposures. We don't, as we all know, we don't have control over the media, but we don't really need that control. Like people say, oh, we need the social networks and blah, 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 blah. What happened to the social network that was shut down in Egypt and those people are still out in the street? Explain, because we're always why we are not doing what we need to do. Those are excuses. We've had 3 million person marches in the United States. The Million Man, the Million Woman was 2.1 million because somebody had a baby, and the Million More movement. The Nation of Islam put out a call, and some sisters, 2 sisters, helped try to organize the Million Person March. But in no way in hell did they get those million people there, sent from a centralized base. Those people, I believe, came because the old network that Harriet Tubman relied on and the other enslaved people relied on is alive and well. And when someone who you respect in your community, in your building, in your workplace, in your church, in your faith-based organization say, we need to show up. The question is, how do we get there? And we don't use excuses. That's how you think that those marches were advertised by the bourgeois press? People didn't even know anything about using social networks. They didn't know about Twitter, or whatever that stuff is. I still don't know about it, not interested. They know about each other. I know her. She's always fighting for us. She stands up when the bus, even when the bus boss threatens to kick her butt, she still stands strong. She said she found out about this march, and maybe we should all think about going. Let's see what it's about. Let's see how we could get there. When you talk to the people as you walked around, that's how they all got there. Both of the Million Man March, the Million Women March, and also the Million More March. So we can drag out 1 million people. The only problem is that, with the exception of the first one, the Million Man, they were done on a day when nobody was around except for us. Well, there was a lot of us. But the first one, the Million Man March, was actually done on a work day. So that meant that people took off work. And a lot of those people didn't have paid benefits that took off work, and that's why they came. They also brought their children with them. And some of them brought their spouses with them, and the women came on their own to support that. So we have the ability to do this. The question we need to ask ourselves is, why the hell are we not doing it, not doing it enough, and not doing it often enough? We can do it, we must do it, and we have the capacity to do it. We need to throw out all the things that don't work, all the illusions that we have about what workers can and cannot do. We spend more time like at a meeting instead of saying, oh, look at all the people that came to the meeting. Let's see how we can employ them. And when they leave there, they have some work to do. So when we come back, we are a step ahead. Instead, let's spend 5 hours talking about who didn't show up. And demoralizing the people who did show up. So we need, the meetings must be meaningful, and I'm very task-oriented. I ain't coming somebody with some theoretical bullshit telling me something that happened in the 1800s. I'm going to come to the meeting because someone is analyzing, or we're analyzing together what's going on, and we're going to come up with a plan on how to tackle that. And we can debate that, but we're going to lead with a plan. And I'm going to lead with a task or several tasks, and so are you. And so when we come back, the question is, did you carry out those tasks? And what was the end result of you carrying out those tasks? So we need to really look at our style of work. We need to look at the lessons learned. We need to look at the things that people do that succeed, and we need to replicate those things and apply them, of course, to the particular conditions of the country, the community that you live in. We need to put out popular literature. That's when I was coming up in the movement, I still even have some of the Ragley pamphlets with the paper falling off and it's turning yellow. But these were pamphlets that were comprehensible, that enlightened me, and that it also reaffirmed what was happening to me, and that there were other people fighting too, and I wanted to be with those other people. So we need to think about what kinds of literature would best work. And then we also need to think about the fact that we have a destiny, we have a responsibility, and we have the courage to build the kind of society that we need. And we also have, coupled with that, of course, is the defeat of the imperialists. And we need to stop being afraid of using words that we weren't afraid to use in the 60s and the 70s. We were shouting them from all around. We'd be all around in the street, any place else, talking about those words. Who told us that we couldn't talk about those words anymore? Who was making up new words for us that don't really tell us who we are and what we must do, and tell us who we have to align ourselves with? So we need to recapture our own traditions, our own glorious history. And when I say us, I mean all of us. I mean anyone from any country, speaks any language of any color and any gender, that we need to all be together, because that is what they hate the most. They're still trying to figure out how the hell did all those people get out on the street and just stay. They said, oh, this is day number 6. One commentator said, when do you think this is going to end? Now, the misleaders were there, some of our training, they would say, well, boss, we were only going to be out here till maybe Friday at 3 o'clock. Is that okay with you, boss? And then we're ending, and we're going to go home, and we probably won't do this again to upset you. The man answered, he said, who can tell? They're going to stay out there till they accomplish their aim. So what are our aims, or what is our aim that we're working on together? And are we willing to hang in there until it is won? I made 65 in December, and if I live as long as my mother and other people to 80, I'm going to still be out there. Even if I have a crutch or a cane, I'm going to be out there fighting until we win this. But I hope to have